Hi everyone. In this lecture of GT Designer 3, we will go over the system settings where you can set up your GOT settings, type of GOT, screen switching device, and what all these things do in the application. So let's get started. So there are three tabs under this. One of them is project, the other one's system, and then you have a screen. So when you go to system, this is where you would set all the basic stuff for your HMI communication and all that stuff, and like what screen numbers you want to use, where the register shows up, what kind of security settings you want to use. So we'll go over all these settings one by one and try and highlight the ones that you're going to need the most. So we start with the GOT type settings. When you double click on this, this is where you would set what kind of GOT series you're running and what kind of HMI size you have, and is it going to be horizontal or vertical, and do you want to use GOT graphic version 2 or 1. Usually keep it to version 2, you get better graphics in general. So then you have language and font, you can leave it to English. You can have Japanese as well, which is a kanji. So, and then under option settings, it would check for overlap objects in the GOT, so you can turn it on or off. I usually leave it off. I mean, yeah. So, and let's, nope, I want to cancel from that. Now under environment settings, this is where you set your screen switching device. This means where the screen numbers show up from the HMI. Now, if you notice, it defaults out to a GD. G stands for, this is anything with the G in front is related to the GOT's internal memory. It does not reflect back into the PLC. Now the screen switching device, these are the small screens or pop-up screens. If you come to screens here, you have base and window. So the screen switching devices for the overlap window are these screens. You can have up to 5 registers pointing to it, so you can have different set of screens for different throughout your PLC program and call them as you need. So I mean, you can click and point whatever you want. Now here, if you see, there is a display position register. By default, it would go to the next 2D registers in lines. You cannot change this. Under detail settings, you have the option for a couple of options where you can disable the touch operation and stuff like that. I usually leave them to default unless I want to change something. Then if we go down a little bit, these are some other settings. You can have superimpose window. What this means is you would have a pop-up screen showing up all day on a screen, and you can change stuff on that. You would use them in rare applications where you want to move things around and don't really want a pop-up to show. So, and the things here below under the other settings, I usually don't change them. I leave them to default. Under language, you can do a language switching, and you can pick what language you want. And if you click on new, this is how you would have, like, one is your standard, then you can whichever you want to be standard would be selected like this. So these are the column numbers in the comment. We'll go over that once we look at the project stuff, but I'll do a little brief on that when we get to that point. Then the dialog window is not, oh shoot, yep, there you go. I usually don't get into this, but you can have like RFID and make some window screens which are set up for like default pop-ups. If something overflows or you have invalid barcode or RFID data or stuff like that. Then you have key window. Now with the GT Designer package 2, the key window is pretty usable. It's spaced nice. You can touch everywhere, even with like industrial gloves. So I leave it to standard, but you can create your own key windows. I have done in the past where we had to make our own keyboard and numeric keypad for customers. So that's just what happens to the cursor. So when you click on like an input field, it would either display when touched, or you just hide the cursor all the time, or you display at any time. So there are a couple of options here about those things. Then we go to system. Here you can read all the system variables from the GOT and the error codes back and forth to the uh, PLC if you want. Security, this is where you would set up your security level for the HMI. You can set it up to a level or you can set it up to an operator. Level is something you can use the PLC code to work with this. So you would put in a 0 for an operator, 1 would be supervisor. I mean, that's what we do on customers' project, but you can have up to 15 levels. And these levels can be used on each of these indicators and even for like the visibility and all that stuff. Basically here, switch lamp, display, common display, alarm display, all that stuff. So, and if you go to operator, you would have to set different registers and set up different pop-up screens for log out and things like that. I usually don't use the operator. Everybody likes to have security settings in the PLC. So then, okay, there you go. This is where you can store the logs from the GOT if you want. Then internal device retention, it's more like a memory backup of the GOT. It would back up all the memory that when you power off and power back on, it's going to store those registers value in it. So, and then you have conversion. You can use the option here and use the conversion for going to Japanese or kanji. And then the startup logo is you can specify a picture image and use that as your startup logo. So, okay, let's cancel out of this. Now we'll go under GOT setup. Here you have option where you can set up the title display time, how long it shows up, a screensaver timing. Then you can turn off the power LED on the GOT. There's a small light on the left side of these HMIs. You can turn it off if you don't want it. Then you can give GOT an ID number, and then you can point to the ID number when you want to download project to it. This is more like a background stuff. It doesn't really affect your program and project in like communication wise. So then you have if you want to use like a call key, so you press on the left top corner, you can change that if you want. There is also a shortcut button more or less similar to Rockwell's exit application thing. So then you can do USB host thing. You can do a time setting. You can update time based on the PLC. It would and change the sampling rate on it if you want to do it every 60 minutes or when the PLC turns on or something like that. So and then we go to the transfer mode settings. I don't usually get into this. We leave the internal device monitoring to off. I don't usually play with them either. Under the advanced stuff, you have the GOT soft link. Soft GOT is more like a PC running the GOT application. Then you can have a VNC server. So what this would do is it would turn on a VNC server on the GOT, and you can use a client to view it. You do need a license file for this thing, just so you know. And you can have a program monitor turned on where you can look at the ladder logic here. So if you turn this on, you can monitor the program in the PLC through this. It can even read comments, and you can even edit the ladder if you want. So I mean, that's a lot of functionality, but it basically adds more package to the GOT's boot operating system. So then you have backup restore. You can back up your PLC program if you want every so often. Then you have wireless LAN settings. If you have the wireless LAN card, you can connect GOT without Ethernet cable. And then you can have a system launcher, which I believe it shows you GT Designer functions. I don't get into this, but it looks like the CSP file storage. And then you can make a GOT as a FTP server and drop files into it from elsewhere. So that's where the basic settings are. Now we go into the GOT Ethernet settings. I think we went over this in the last lecture, but if you go here, this is where you give your IP address to the GOT. If you have wireless LAN, you would use that. I don't change anything on the extended port. And the common settings is where you would give it a gateway, and I leave this blank, don't usually get into it much. Now under controller settings, this is where you would give pick your channels and give each channel an IP address, what PLC are going to talk through that channel, all that happy stuff. So it can have up to 4 channels or 4 different PLC brands talking to each other. And then under the routing, you can route between different PLC communication protocols if you want. You can do gateway servers, gateway client. You can send emails from GOT for like alarms and things like that. If customer wants, hey, if this alarm comes on, I want it to send an email. You can use this to set it up. Then you can create an FTP server on it, and you can do a file transfer. This is pretty neat. I just recently used it at a customer place. What we are doing is you can basically pull files from an FTP site and bring it to GOT. It could be a PDF, pictures, or anything and everything that GOT can show. So it works pretty good. I've tried it. It takes like 1.5 to 2 seconds to get a picture pulled back. So pretty neat. I don't think you see these functions in any other HMIs that much. I don't get into the millisecond redundant stuff. And station number switching, this is probably so you can talk to a different PLC from the same screen if you had to, but I don't usually change these two. Leave them to unchecked. So these are pretty advanced, and only if you had to get in the last 3 you would use them. So then we go to the peripheral unit. This is where you can specify. Let me cancel this. Okay. You can set up PC for data transfer. You have a barcode reader. You can do an RFID connect. You can connect it through like an RS-232. Read the values back from a barcode reader, RFID reader, VNC server. So you can connect that, give it a password, and then people can use that to view the HMI. Video RGB input. So if you have like a camera feed you want to bring to the HMI, you can do that by a HDMI or VGA input card and connect it to the GOT, and you can view that feed into the GOT. You can play multimedia on this if you had to, and you can have external I/O board if you want. You can buy one of them boards and connect to it. You can output the HMI to GOT to a monitor or a TV if you want. You can connect a printer, and you can change the sound output on it. So that's basically most of it. I don't get into the network interaction much. You don't really need it. Mobile setting, you get into this if you are trying to use GOT for mobile function. So here you can create small screens which would show up on a different platform altogether. Like you can have it developed for iPads or iPhones of specific size, and people can go to its IP address, and you're basically pointing at the GOT on that screen, and you can do stuff on it. So it would show up under here. You could create a plus, and it would create a new mobile screen which would be similar to base and window. So, and this is what cards you have connected on the back of it, or if you have a serial card on it, how do you want to set it up for. That shows basically all the cards you have on it. So I think that's it for the GT Designer system menu. That was a lot. So thank you.